everybody. This is Blaze from the Arts, Culture, and Us. And once again, we're here at the Los Angeles Downtown Art Walk. It's the second Thursday of every month. You don't want to miss it. It's all through Gallery Row from 2nd to 9th, from Spring to Main. It's a very safe location, and we urge you to come. You would love the joy. But tonight we have a very special interview with Dr. Mark Valinsky. And doctor, tell them a little bit about what type of doctor you were, very briefly.
All right, for about 30 years, I was a world-renowned podiatrist, foot specialist.
And we'll move into the fact that also, you see the excellent condition Mark is in. How long have you been a practicing martial artist?
For a moment, no. I've been in and out of martial arts for over 20 years.
And has that been a key to you as far as discipline, and do you apply it to your life on an everyday basis, just out of curiosity?
Absolutely. I'm very much into the Oriental culture of manners, first and foremost, and respect. So that has led me a lot throughout my life. And then the discipline of doing the martial arts is you learn to take small increments of things that you may at first be clumsy at, and through repeated practice, get proficient. And so that's taught me to be a little bit more patient with myself, because I like to accomplish many things at once, and just take, if you will, small, wise, planned steps to get to a proper result, or in martial arts, the next belt.
Tonight what we're talking about is photography. He's done photography all over the world, from the United States to the People's Republic of China, Hong Kong, Japan, down under to Australia, all the way back to Spain, and then back to America also.
Make this guy my new agent. I'm telling you, folks, this man's incredible.
But we still haven't even gotten to the fact that he does celebrities. But for a moment, we want to talk a little bit about China, or I do, because China, you know, our former president sold a whole lot of interest in China, so we might as well learn to speak Chinese and get into the understanding of the new China. So why don't you tell us a little bit about what that was like, and then take us to Spain also.
Okay, well, let me tell you a little bit about China. I had been there 5 different times starting in 1983. And as I said, being a martial artist prior to that, I found it a fascinating place. I've always wanted to be there. People to People, that was started by President Eisenhower, and Nixon was in power at the time, and we're just breaking new relationships with the People's Republic. So not many Westerners had been there in a while, because it is communist China, and we were still part of the Cold War then. And it was just totally fascinating, because we flew into Beijing, and bicycles everywhere. That's the first thing I noticed. It's just bicycles everywhere, very few cars. Actually, I'll back that up. We actually flew first into Shanghai, and totally different city now, the way it's grown, and the investments from all over the world. But at that point in time, it was much more communistic, and there was not a lot of outside money. The buildings were framed in bamboo. So you might have a 30-story building that was built by the English back prior to World War II, when we were occupying some of that area, at least the Brits were. And so you had a lot of mixed architecture. But as they were repairing the building, they would do the whole external structure in lashed bamboo. It was just totally amazing, me coming from upstate New York and then Chicago, to see the cultural difference between what we had and what they didn't have. In fact, the first thing that comes to my mind now, a delicacy over that was very, very rare to get, was a Baby Ruth candy bar. And it was only, we stayed at the Presidential Palace, and I think they would get one box of 24 bars like once a month or so. It's hard to know where to begin about the People's Republic of China. As I said, the people were joyous. We were rare to see. That was another thing. I was about to say, it's hard to say what was interesting, because so much was, and I could probably go on for a month about that. But the people, we had brought Polaroid cameras at the time, the instant pictures. We would take the picture and pull it out, and the picture would appear in front of their faces. And it was very interesting, because in their culture too, many people thought that you were capturing their spirit. They never saw anything like that before. And other people were just totally fascinated because we were taking pictures of a lot of the children and giving it to their parents.
You were a photographer then?
Yeah, I was a photographer then, back in '83. Oh, I have some phenomenal shots in '83 of what the hospitals look like. We went to 8 different cities throughout the country, and we just saw many things that the Westerners had not seen. I've been and climbed the Great Wall of China 3 different times. You get a little medal there. I actually went to teach. I went to teach a very specialized technique where I used to do things called bunions and hammer toes through an 1/8-inch incision. I was part of the first surgical team to the People's Republic of China. I was one of 25 doctors to go the first time. I was one of 3 invited back. That in many cases, I felt the Americanization of a lot of the Oriental stuff, we were better fighters. Now that's not to say all of them, because some of these people, like my grandmaster in my last technique, well, he was Master Yu out of Chicago. And this guy used to break metal leaf springs from trucks, 2 of them with his hands. He would slice through 7 boards while they're standing straight before the board a 1/4 inch away would hit the board next to it. That's how fast his hands were. And when he told me he was invisible, he actually showed me that. And when he told me one time, these people are rare, and they are in China, but this particular gentleman is Korean. But one time he stood back from somebody, and he just walked on air literally to deliver a kick. And he says, "I'm going to give 10%. This guy holding a bag just flew backwards 15 feet and started to head out of a 2nd floor window. Master Yu, after walking on air and delivering this kick downward, landed and was fast enough to run behind the guy and stop him before he flew out of the window. It was absolutely incredible.
I got to ask, did you get that on film?
No.
I had to ask. We talked so much about your diversity, so why don't you tell us a little bit about where people can contact you at? You know, I'll be putting it under the screen, but I want you to say it also so they'll know where they can reach you, and then we'll talk about rock and roll.
All right, sounds good. Well, you can reach me through Mark Valinsky, MarkValinsky, photography.com. That's one of my websites. And email is info@markvalinskyphotography.com. Well, what you'll be seeing is some of my rock and roll photography. It's vintage photos of the classic groups from the mid-'70s. While I was in podiatry school and just after it, I was going to concerts as well because I always liked rock and roll music. So I had the good fortune of shooting people like the Rolling Stones, Led Zeppelin, the Eagles, Jethro Tull, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Kansas, who else? The Steve Miller Band, and a few others. And most recently, Steve Miller is very good. And most recently, I shot a little bit of Ringo Starr and Yes at the Hollywood Bowl. Tell us a little bit about the books you're about to do. Well, I'm going to put these books into a classic rock and roll photography book. Then I've also shot just walking around some flowers. I like to experiment a lot in different subjects. So I'll be putting out a book called While I Was Walking. And then I will be putting out a book called Photo Images of China. And there's a few others that I'm working on. I'll put one out on all the celebrities I've taken, probably a couple hundred celebrity photos I have, and more happen all the time. Just last week I shot Clint Eastwood. And last week I shot Clint Eastwood, a tough guy. That's a good shot. I'm going to close out because I think we're pretty much out of film, might even be out. So I'll close out now. So this is Blaze. Again, I've been speaking to Dr. Mark Valinsky, who is now just Mark Valinsky, the photographer, the actor, and the all-around guy, martial artist, and so on, world traveler. Look for his new books. Go to that website. You'll be happy what you discover. I want to thank you very much for being part of the Los Angeles Downtown Art Walk. Thank you for the honor. Thank you, sir. All right. Blaze out.